What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down 3 tips for high school quarterbacks to improve their skills and to be just a better overall player. So we're going to be talking about how you guys can get the most out of 7-on-7, how you guys can build better chemistry with your wide receivers, and then one of the most common mistakes that quarterbacks make in terms of their throwing mechanics and what can get you more velocity on the ball. So I hope this video helps you guys out, but also, fellas, if you're a QB and you want to get better mechanics, you want to throw better on the run, you want to throw better off platform, improve your football IQ, check out that very first link in the description below where you can get an opportunity to train with myself and my staff of coaches. We are traveling out to 6 more states across the country for 2-day-long quarterback and wide receiver training camps. We just got done with our Columbus, Ohio camp. Now we're going to be coming out to Chicago, Illinois next, Dallas, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee, Salt Lake City, Utah, and Los Angeles, California. So if you guys are local to those areas or would like to travel out and get some work in with us, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to have you out. Let's get started. So now, first things first, we're going to talk a little bit about 7-on-7. So 7-on-7, one of those things that a lot of quarterbacks love to do in the offseason. I think it can be great work for quarterbacks in terms of improving, their ability to read defenses, their ability to go through progressions, if you do it the right way. Now, this is an example of a poor way to do it. I don't mean to pick on this kid because I don't really blame the kid. I blame his coaches for letting this happen. So we're going to play this clip full speed. So he drops back, he hits the top of his drop, and just watch his footwork. He takes about 3, 4, 5 hitches, and when he lets that thing go, he is right by that line of scrimmage. That stool is the line of scrimmage, and his foot is probably a step away from it. This is probably as unrealistic as you can get. Now, the reason why I say this is because in a real game scenario, when you guys are making progressions and you get to the top of the drop, you should stay there. You should not be taking 4, 5, 6 different shuffles up in the pocket. It's just simply not going to happen. Your offensive linemen are probably going to get pushed back, I would say, about 2 yards if they're holding the pass protection perfectly. So if you guys take unnecessary hitches, keep scooting up in the pocket, you are not getting anything out of 7-on-7. I'm going to tell you this right now. No offers are given out in 7-on-7, even though a lot of people make it seem like that. And there are no rings in 7-on-7. So you're not going to win a high school state championship. You're not going to win whatever championship that you guys are not going to win a league championship playing 7-on-7. Now, you might turn 7-on-7 into a scholarship by improving your skills. So when you guys are in these 7-on-7 atmospheres, yeah, you want to win. Quarterbacks are naturally competitors. And I was the exact same way. But when you guys are out there, you're there to get better. And you're there, and how you get better is by putting yourself in game realistic situations. So if you guys are going through plays and you're taking, so let's count 1 hitch, 2 hitch, 3 hitches, 4th hitch, and you're already at the line of scrimmage, there's nothing of value that you can add to your game by making that happen. And I don't mean to pick on this kid because there are hundreds of thousands of kids probably that do the exact same thing across the country because their coaches don't emphasize it. You need to emphasize it. As a quarterback, you need to put yourselves in those situations. When you're going through progressions, you are staying in the exact same spot. Your feet are quiet. You're making reads. For reference, go watch the Elite 11 and how those guys do 7-on-7. They ain't taking extra hitches, and that's how you can get the most out of it. Don't buy into the hype. Don't buy into winning the 7-on-7 tournament, because believe me, there are a lot of scrub quarterbacks that win 7-on-7 tournaments. Then when the pads come on, they can't do a dang thing. So make sure, fellas, you are treating your offseason realistic. Do not waste time. You only have a limited amount of months in the offseason. Please do not waste time if you want to be successful this season. And we're going to play this thing full speed just so you guys kind of have an idea of this. Just make sure, fellas, we are treating every situation possible as realistic as possible. So now, second thing I want to talk about for high school wide receivers is, or high school quarterbacks, is to understand your wide receivers. So how can you guys understand the way a wide receiver is going to operate? So me, myself, I know a decent amount about both positions, right? I know a lot about quarterbacks. That's what I played growing up. When I made the switch to college, that's where I switched to wide receiver. And the thing that so many guys don't understand is letting a wide receiver work their route. So if you want to be successful in high school and you want to have good chemistry with your wide receiver, like perfect example is Devontae Adams and when he was with Aaron Rodgers, right? When they're working their routes, it's like they seem to know exactly where that ball is going to be placed. Devontae Adams does, and Rodgers knows exactly how Adams is going to move. You have to understand leverage of a DB, how a DB moves, the coverage he's playing just as much as a wide receiver does. So this is going to be a great example of that. So this is a goal line fade, and this DB's playing inside shade on our wide receiver. So what do I need to know as a quarterback? I need to know that it's not going to be probably just the quickest throw in the world where I just catch and then I just go throw it. Because this wide receiver is not just going to run off. What is he taught to do? And as a quarterback, I need to know these things. So when he comes off the ball, he's going to attack the DB. He's going to give him a little release to the inside, give himself some space to the outside for us to throw him open. So as a quarterback, we need to understand that. I maybe might have to hold the ball a little bit longer based on the leverage and based on the different situations. Now, let's scale it back a little bit. Let's say you're a quarterback and you're in an offense, and maybe you don't have the most experienced wide receivers in the world, right? Maybe they don't study these kinds of things. Maybe they don't know about these kinds of things. You can have the opportunity to explain to them, hey, this is what you need to do against this type of leverage. You look at guys like Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, all the time they're coaching up their wide receivers. All the time they're telling them about how this leverage works, how that leverage works. They may not necessarily know the technical aspects of it. They may not necessarily know, how the release works and the movement of the release, but they know the concepts and they know what's going to work. So from a quarterback perspective, if I have this goal line fade and he's inside shade, nothing worse, right? When that receiver takes off and runs and this DB's right on our hip pocket and he's forcing us to the sideline and you have no space to throw this fade ball. You obviously want as much space as possible because you're trying to fade the wide receiver out. So we got to explain to our wide receivers, or we have to understand he's going to attack him. We want to attack him inside and threaten him inside. He attacks him, gives him a move inside, because if that DB can move off the platform in because he's going to give up space to the outside because he has no help inside, we know that as a quarterback. I know that I got more space than what it looks like to throw that wide receiver open and put that ball on a fade. But the timing is a tad different because this wide receiver is doing this because that DB's lined up inside shade, and when he's inside shade, he doesn't have help to the inside. So we want to threaten like we're running a slant route, get the DB to move, get him to play the slant to open up more space to the outside. So as a quarterback and a receiver, you got to be on the same page when it comes to this specific thing. We talk a lot about this at our camps. We talk a lot about this with the guys that we train. You have to be on the same page, and you got to know the IQ nuances of each position. So maybe you catch the snap, we hold it for a split second. Let the wide receiver work that release. We have some time, okay? So I'm going to play this thing full speed again one more time. Again, fellas, the whole point of that is just because high school wide receivers and high school quarterbacks usually don't have the best chemistry. You guys got to develop that chemistry. So now, the last thing I want to talk about for high school quarterbacks is one of the biggest mistakes that you see guys make, and that's where they treat their back foot almost like they are a pitcher coming off of a mound. So when you guys are playing quarterback position, it's very popular nowadays. Everybody talks about, the hip rotation, the weight transfer, you throwing from here rather from just your arm and your shoulder, maybe not your legs. So the mistake a lot of quarterbacks make is they push off of the back foot. So we're going to show this example right here of this quarterback, and then we're going to show an example of Tom Brady doing it correctly. So he drops back. He's taking a 3-step drop and a hitch, right? I want you to pay very close attention to this right here, this back foot extension. That is what we want to try to avoid, and what so many quarterbacks get in that bad habit of. And that is from when you hitch up, pushing off of your back foot, not pushing or driving off of your back quad. So I'll explain. So you guys have all seen a pitcher before, right? Like in baseball. And when he throws, he's got that really long front stride. He takes this really long step, and it's for timing the motion. He gets a little bit of power off of it. But when he throws, he's pushing off of this back foot. Obviously, it's a little bit different throwing a football than a baseball. It's kind of maybe the same idea mechanically. It may be. I'm not the biggest expert on throwing a baseball, but it's more like hitting a baseball because it has a lot to do with your hips. Your hip rotation is what creates velocity on the ball. Now, if I have this big, long push from my back foot, my stride gets a little bit longer and my back foot trails behind. So you want to try to get that front foot down as fast as possible rather than pushing in the direction of the target. Because when that back leg extends, you have no hip rotation. You see how his hips lock out. That front hip does not rotate through. And when your back leg extends, your shoulders end up coming through first, and that gives you not as much power on the ball. So it all is equated to you getting your hips to rotate through from a shift of weight, not necessarily a push of weight. Because the throwing sequence it's like hitting a baseball, like I said. When you guys are hitting a baseball, you take that stride with the front foot, the hips rotate through, and then the bat trails behind. It's almost like hitting a golf ball, right? When you hit a golf ball, you take the club up, right? And then you pivot off the back foot, the hips shoot through, and the club trails behind. Same thing when throwing a football. But if you guys don't rotate at your hips because you are pushing off the back foot, then the sequence of the throw is off. That's like hitting a baseball with all arm. So you guys go to drive, but because we push off of this back foot and it extends, There's no rotation, so guess what ends up coming through first? His shoulders end up coming through before the hip does. That's like hitting a baseball only with your arms. You lose power and you lose consistency. So I'm going to play at full speed, and then we'll take a look at this example from Brady and kind of show you guys what you should be doing. So make sure you're not pushing, fellas. So now this clip from Brady, great example of how his stride is quick, how his hips are quick, and how he's able to throw this dart consistently, right? So when he's in this base in the pocket, check out his back foot. His back foot never extends. It's just a constant shift. He is not pushing off the back foot. He is not just pivoting off of his back toe either. A lot of people think that. A lot of people think, oh, well, if I just pivot off my back toe, it's not what it is. You have to transfer your weight. And that weight transfer comes from here, not from the foot. So you see how when he goes to drive, when that front foot gets down, you see how it's directly related to that back leg shooting through. That back leg transfer gets his front foot to go down. And then guess what? The hips go through. And look what trails behind the hips. It's the ball. That is how we have to think about the throwing mechanics. It is a weight transfer, not a push. It is a weight shift, not a push. We are not pushing athletes. We are rotational athletes, and we are rotating at my back quad, on my back leg, and at my hips. So let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Much more consistent throw. Obviously, a very consistent passer. He's been doing it for the last damn near I don't know how many years. So make sure, fellas, we can add those mechanical aspects to my game. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. We always appreciate the feedback, and it's always great to hear from you guys as usual. And again, fellas, if you'd like to train with us this offseason, we're traveling out to 5 more states. We just got done with our Columbus, Ohio camp. Now we're coming out to Chicago, Illinois, Dallas, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee, Salt Lake City, Utah, and Los Angeles, California. So check out that very first link in the description below. I'll see you guys next time.